the Indiana Fever lose to the Las Vegas Aces 89-81 running bullshit Stephanie White offense. Let's call a spade a spade. The Indiana Fever lost 89-81 running bullshit Stephanie White offense. But Ben,
today we're diving deep into the Indiana Fever's recent struggles, focusing on their heartbreaking 89-81 loss to the Las Vegas Aces and a tough defeat to the Golden State Valkyries. We're talking Caitlin Clark's shooting woes, a second-half collapse, and the biggest concern for head coach Stephanie White that's got everyone buzzing.
I don't know what Stephanie White's doing exactly. I don't have a clue. Again, I don't know what the identity of this team is. I really don't. It seems like they play a different way every game. One could say, well, that's her game plan. She's game planning for each team.
Spoiler alert, it's not what you might think. It's Sunday, and the Indiana Fever are facing off against the defending champs, the Las Vegas Aces, led by the unstoppable A'ja Wilson. The Fever came into this game with a 6-6 record, hoping to bounce back after a rough loss to the Golden State Valkyries just a few days earlier. But, folks, this one didn't go as planned. The Fever started strong. They were firing on all cylinders in the first half, heading into halftime with a solid 42-36 lead.
We shot 0 free throws in the first half. 0 free throws this team shot in the first half. How? How is that possible? No aggression. No physicality. Could there have been a call here or a call there? Yeah, I'm sure. But I gotta be honest, folks.
That's right. 6 points up against one of the best teams in the league. You could feel the momentum, and it looked like Indiana might pull off an upset. But then the second half happened. The Aces chipped away at the lead, cutting it to just 3 points by the end of the third quarter. And in the fourth, oh boy, Las Vegas turned it up a notch, outscoring the Fever 31-20 in the final frame. That's a complete collapse for Indiana. And the final score? 89-81 Aces. A'ja Wilson was, as expected, a force, dominating the paint and leading her team to the comeback win.
You knew A'ja was going to be able to shoot much better in the second half, and she did.
But for the Fever, this loss stung. It wasn't just the score, it was how they lost. They had the game in their hands and let it slip away. So what went wrong? Let's dig into the numbers and the key moments. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Caitlin Clark. The reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year, the player who's been lighting up highlight reels since her college days at Iowa, is in a bit of a slump. And this game against the Aces? It wasn't her best showing. Clark finished with 19 points, which sounds decent on paper, but let's break it down. She shot 7 out of 20 from the field. That's 35%. And a rough 1 out of 10 from three-point range. That's a 10% clip from deep, folks. For a player known for her sharpshooting, those numbers are tough to swallow. And this wasn't a one-off. Just a few days earlier against the Golden State Valkyries, Clark had an even tougher night. 11 points on 3 of 14 shooting and 0 of 7 from 3. That's 2 straight games where her shot just wasn't falling. Now, if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, and I know a lot of you are, you might be wondering, what's going on? Is this just a rookie wall? Are defenses figuring her out? Or is it something else? We're going to get to what Coach Stephanie White had to say about this, but first let's talk about the bigger picture for the Fever. So, why did the Fever let a 6-point halftime lead turn into an 8-point loss? Let's break it down. The third quarter was where things started to unravel. The Aces tightened up their defense, and you could see Indiana's offense getting stagnant. Las Vegas was physical, they were showing bodies, and they were daring the Fever to score inside the arc. By the end of the third, that 6-point lead was down to 3. And in the fourth quarter, the wheels fell off. The Aces went on a 31-20 run, exploiting every mistake Indiana made. Missed shots, sloppy passes, and here's the big one, turnovers. We'll get to those in a second, but this collapse was a team effort, not just on Clark. Okay, let's get to the juicy part. What did Fever head coach Stephanie White have to say about all this? After the game, she sat down with reporters and got real about the team's performance. And you might be surprised to hear this, but Clark's shooting slump, not her biggest worry.
all the different
Here's what
things.
White said, and I'm
we have to
quoting.
do a better. I'm not worried about Caitlin's shot. Caitlin's shot is going to be just fine. The thing I'm worried about is our 18 turnovers for 28 points.
The Fever turned the ball over 16 times against the Aces, and those mistakes led to 28 points for Las Vegas. That's almost a third of their total score. And if you look at the bigger picture, Indiana has now turned the ball over 32 times over their last 2 games. That's a huge problem. White also talked about Clark's shooting struggles, but she's looking at it from a team perspective. She said, and I quote,
I think the biggest thing is what we have to do as a staff to get her better looks, like higher quality looks. Every game plan is going to be to make her score inside the three-point line, right? And the different ways that they're going to do that. Physicality, coverage, showing bodies, all the different things. And, we have to do a better job of getting her higher quality looks.
What White's saying here is that opposing teams are throwing everything at Clark. Physicality, double teams, you name it. And it's on the coaching staff to adjust, to scheme up plays that get Clark open for better shots. That's a sign of a good coach, right? Not pointing fingers. Because this is where things get messy for the Fever. Against the Valkyries, Clark had 6 turnovers. Against the Aces, she had 8. That's 14 turnovers in 2 games from your star player. For context, that's more than some entire teams have in a single game. But it's not just Clark. The whole team is struggling to take care of the ball. Those 16 turnovers against the Aces? They weren't all on Caitlin. This is a team-wide issue, and it's killing their chances to close out games. Why are turnovers such a big deal? Well, every time you give the ball away, you're not just losing a possession. You're giving the other team a chance to score. And when those turnovers lead to 28 points, like they did against the Aces, that's a game changer. White made it clear that fixing this turnover issue is priority number 1. She and her coaching staff are likely hitting the film room hard this week, looking at ways to clean up the offense and protect the ball. So where do the Fever go from here? They're sitting at 6-7, which isn't terrible for a young team, but these back to